Hi everyone, welcome to the Empower Sounds podcast. My name is Mahika, and today we're going to do something a bit different. So, if you have Spotify, then recently the Wrapped has been coming out, and we've all been low-key getting exposed for everything that we've been listening to, everything that we've been consuming, music, podcasts, life lessons. And I thought I'd do something a bit different today and give you my 2024 Wrapped. I'm not talking about my music taste, don't worry, I'm sparing you there. But I thought it'd be interesting to go through each month, and just like Spotify gave us these weird genres, I got like witchy, conscious, spiritual, rock, pop as one of them. And I have a friend who got um posh lady, mature, privileged, posh yacht lady, these crazy genres. I thought instead it would be fun to go through each month this year and give you like the biggest lesson that I learned so that you can learn from me and we can share. I'm really curious for your guys' Spotify Wrapped, like both in real life and the life lessons, like what I'm gonna do now, but also the music. So please comment down below or share with me on Power Sounds. Let me know, because I'm super curious. And yeah, let's get started. So for January was a very interesting month because I didn't have like the biggest plans. I saw a lot of people were like going abroad and going on trips, because I was living in Spain at that point and it was like the Christmas holidays still, and people were still going on like big trips and holidays and doing all these things. And I didn't have like a visa. I had some like issues, so I couldn't leave the country. And so instead of doing all of those things like everyone else, I just had to plan lots of little day things around the city and do way more like mundane things. And initially I had a bit of FOMO, but then as I started to do more of these activities, like I went pottery making and I went on long walks and runs, and I did like a little day trip, I realized how much fun small mundane things can be. And you don't always need to have massive wins or plans to be happy and successful. You can do little things and schedule small fun stuff in your week to feel more inspired. Like I've started doing that more since January. I like to schedule in fun things and new activities and try something different because it just like makes life more interesting and fun. So that was my big January lesson. February was a rough month. I had all sorts of things go wrong. I had like technical issues going on in my flat. I had, like I said, visa issues. So I was meant to go to this really big family thing that I couldn't go to, and I felt really lonely. All my friends were leaving Spain and moving out, so I felt quite isolated and alone. And it was hard. But February taught me so much, and I think the key lesson was that growth comes from your ability to respond to hard things. And I think the way that I dealt with that loneliness and that pain and all the inconveniences that came in that time, like logistical, admin stuff, all these things, were way more positive than I used to do it in the past. I think I just kind of took on the problems and dealt with them and didn't really internalize them for what it meant about me and my self-worth and oh my God, this always happens to me, all these things. I just kind of accepted it and moved on. And it meant that it was so much easier and I built so much more trust with myself that I can do hard things, that life can give me challenges and I can like get through it. So that was beautiful. And also, after going through all of these annoying things in February, like one after the other, I had like one of the best weeks of my life. I met some of my favorite people. I did so many fun things. I have some of my best memories from the end of February. So I think it's also a reminder that like once you go through kind of a bit of a flop era or a bit of a hard time, things tend to look up and life tends to reward you sometimes for getting through it. And so if you're not feeling so good right now, just remember that like something really good is coming to like balance it all out, you know? I feel like that's how it works. Anyways, my lesson for March was all about community. So, because I had all these issues with being able to leave the country and this stuff, a lot of my friends from home, from the UK, came to visit me. And one of my best friends came to visit me in March, and I had the best time. And I finally got my visa in March time. Like, I got permission to leave Spain, and I got to go home for the first time in like 9 months, 8 months, and see my family all together and be at home. And it really made me appreciate the power of community and surrounding yourself with good people that love and celebrate you. Like when I came back, my family had all these little things laid out for me, being like, welcome home, all this stuff. And when I was in Spain, because I couldn't leave for ages and like see my family and do all these things that I would normally do, I started celebrating my monthly anniversaries in Spain. So I moved on the 25th of August, and every 25th of the month, I would like celebrate with people. And it was so nice because these people that I'd just gotten to know would come, they'd celebrate me, they would like get a sweet treat with me, like cake, or I would get wishes. Like people would text me being like, happy anniversary. And it was just my anniversary that I made up with Spain. And I felt so lucky that I had so many amazing people come into my life. And I think understanding your boundaries makes it so much easier in friendship as well because you know like who's gonna respect that. So like I really felt that I attracted the best people and like I just appreciated all the amazing people in my life at that point. It felt really good. If you're listening to this, go and text those people that you really care about because it's important that you make them feel appreciated and loved the way that they do for you. So yeah, go do something nice for them. And later on this year, I decided that I was gonna send like a letter to some of my favorite people. So like all my family, my close friends from school, they all got letters of appreciation. Just I thought it'd be like a random, fun, nice thing to do. So just think like, what's something nice I can do for my people today? And let me know again. I'm interested in the podcast Instagram or the comments. Like, let me know what you did. So moving on. April was also a very interesting month. Um, I had a lot of things come into my life that I was a bit like scared about. New people, new relationships, new activities that I wanted to try, but I wasn't sure how I felt about it. And before, I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you. I think sometimes I have a tendency to overthink quite a lot. And I will be like sitting there having the huge debate of like, should I not? What should I do? All these things. But one thing that's really started to help me make decisions quicker is this idea of the net positive rule. So I feel like nothing in life is ever going to be 100% positive. No situation or relationship or opportunity or experience is going to be 100% positive 100% of the time. But my way of like navigating situations and understanding, do I still want to be in this like place with this person or doing this activity is now just asking myself, is this net positive for me? Do I feel happy at least like more than 50% of the time? And is this like a net positive? Because even if I have a bad day with a person, a friend, whatever, or at like a job or doing a hobby or something, if I have a bad day, that's fine. But if it becomes a series of bad days and it stops being a net positive experience, then I know that's not for me anymore. You can set your threshold as high and low as you want, but I found that this was like a really nice tool to check in and allow me to like just start doing things without sitting there and overthinking on the sidelines for ages and just kind of be more active and just check in and be like, am I still into this relationship, job, I don't know, experience, like I said. So try that. I think it's fun. Um, May, again, I mentioned this a little bit earlier in the March lesson, but May was boundaries for sure. Because basically, I used to live alone, and I've done a whole episode on that as well. If you want to learn everything that I learned living alone, I think that was a really fun thing. Like, it really changed me a lot as a person, and I learned so much about myself. But May was so cool because basically, I finalized the person that I'm living with now. We'd already committed to living with each other, but we were like really testing it out. And so instead of just moving in together, we tried something where we went pottery painting and we sat down and we like told each other our boundaries, our time boundaries, our boundaries with like guests, our boundaries with cleanliness, like the things that annoy us. And I found that really an interesting approach because I feel like sometimes you don't do that in your friendships. And then it's really hard because you have these little things that nag at you and they don't feel like big enough things to bring up on the day to day. So you let it slide and then it just keeps building up and it just either ends in like passiveness where you end up ignoring each other or resentment or a fight and it's not nice. And I definitely struggled with confrontation in the past and it's still something that I don't enjoy very much. So getting better at kind of speaking to people in my life beforehand and being like, this is what I need to feel good and giving them space to do exactly the same, being like, what do you need to feel good is so game changing. So if you have a roommate, sit down with your roommates and be like, okay, what are rules is not the right way to put it. It's not rules, but like what are your boundaries? What are my boundaries? Do the same if you have like a partner, your close friends, family. I don't know. It sounds unnecessary. It sounds like over the top. But I think sometimes putting it out there and just having clarity makes you way more considerate of the other people in your life. And it just like, I think it makes it a much nicer experience. So I really enjoyed doing that. And I think like boundaries don't have to be scary. As I don't really think I was amazing at boundaries growing up, but I've definitely learned their importance as time goes on. And you know what? Like, not everything has to be a super rigid boundary. Like, you can have ones that you're like more relaxed about and the ones that matter more to you. If you don't know what they are, then it's kind of hard. So even if you don't want to communicate with the people in your life, I recommend just sitting down and being like, okay, what's important to me? Like, what will I let slide? What will I not let slide? What do I care about? What do I not care about? I think that's really, it brings a lot more peace and clarity into your day to day. So the next lesson, June. June was a cool month. It was my last month in Spain, and I did a lot of fun things that were really scary to me. I tried new things, tried new hobbies, tried new experiences. And I think doing things that scare you is the best way to build self-trust because now I'm able to if I want to try something new and I know I'm going to be bad at it. Like later on in the year I tried Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I'm going skiing for the first time next week. I'm doing all these things that I would have not done for like I haven't done for a long time because I've always thought like, oh, I'm gonna be so bad, I'm gonna look so bad, this is gonna be awful. But doing things that scare you and that are out of your comfort zone is the best way to build self-trust because yeah, okay, you might be horrible, but you know that you are pushing yourself and you're trying new things and that you're surviving and it's really not that bad and it's not that serious. So I think it's really fun. Also, June was around the time where I really, really got into running. So like March to June time, I was like really like I joined a run club. I was going running a lot in Madrid in Spain, and I loved it. And I was definitely not a sporty person growing up. I used to really shy away from it. I used to feel like a lot of shame around it. But doing these activities and actually enjoying socializing whilst doing sport was like a crazy experience. And it made me realize that you really truly do get to choose who you are. And if there's something that you're not like 100% like cool with in your personality or something about yourself where you're like, you know what, like I sat there and I thought, do I really want to live the rest of my life with this identity and narrative that I'm not a sporty person? And I was like, no. So I started trying things and oh my God, it was hard. It was so hard because you're so used to having your comfort zone of different things that you're good at and stepping out of that and being confronted with things that you're bad at is so scary. And I did a whole other episode on why you should normalize being bad at your hobbies. So if you're interested on this topic, like I encourage you to go check that out because I had a lot of fun chatting about this a little bit more. But yeah, no, go do the scary thing. And I promise you, you'll feel better about yourself. Even if you feel good about yourself, like this idea of trying new things and building trust is something that literally no one can take away from you. So that was a really powerful month. July was hard. July was really hard for me because I moved back home and I had massive reverse culture shock. I was living alone in the middle of like a capital city and then I moved back to the countryside. And I had to come back and confront the fact that I didn't really know what I wanted to do with my life. I was quite like tired. I didn't have motivation to study or to work or to like make new friends all over again or do the whole high-paced life of London. And I found that really difficult, like getting over. And I was like, oh my God, why am I being like this? And I found it really hard to be in that space and be like, why do I feel like this? This makes no sense. I have a good life. I'm coming back to a good life. I have good friends. I love my family. I really like the city that I'm gonna move to. Like, I like London, all these things. And so it was hard. Like I couldn't rationalize why I felt bad, but I just felt so bad. And I think July was learning that it's okay to feel lost. And sometimes you can't be going at like 100 miles per hour. Sometimes you just need to slow down. And slowing down allows you to like pivot. So in that time, like I really don't think I did much with my life in July. I was very relaxed. I think I just sat at home and I read books and I took it very easy. And doing that gave me so much time to think about new ideas. And I started learning more about financial literacy. And I thought about starting this series, which I've been doing on educating people on like financial literacy on LinkedIn. So you should check that out if you want to. And I started thinking about this podcast and how I can make it better and what I can do for this season, which I've had so much fun creating. And I had fun just spending time with my family and just doing things that weren't productive, like going to the garden center and eating cake and reading books. It was just a time to exist. And I think I'd forgotten how to do that a little bit. I think because I love being the best version of myself, sometimes I tend to over optimize for like, oh my God, I could be doing more and all these things. But learning to slow down and just exist is also quite, it's hard, if you're not like that, because you have to learn to let go of this validation that you have around doing and achieving and succeeding. And like everyone around me at that time was getting internships and doing jobs and either making money or like doing something prestigious for their career and like working with a cool company or going traveling. And I was literally just sitting at home and reading books. And like learning to be, like I said, for the January thing, like learning to be okay with that and learning to just be like, I'm doing exactly what I need to be doing right now was something that was really cool, but it was hard. So I think July was an interesting one. August, on the other hand, was really fun. So my birthday is in August, and I love August because my birthday is in August, and it's a month that's all about me. I get to celebrate me, I get to do fun things. And so as soon as it turned August, because I was a bit sick of like sitting and moping a little bit at home, I kept saying like, okay, it's August, good things are gonna happen. Like it's like the best month of the year for me. Good things always happen. Like August is a miracle month. And because I kept saying that, I kept saying good things are happening, good things are happening. Good things happen. Like so many amazing things happen. I had so many crazy experiences. I really enjoyed celebrating my birthday with the people I love. My really good friends from Madrid came to visit me in England. I got to combine like my two worlds. I started like really going down this route of like trying visualization and meditation, and I met some really cool people through that. Um, in terms of the podcast, it's when I started like the second season and doing all these things that bring me so much joy, and I felt like myself again. And it reminded me that what you tell yourself is what happens, like is your reality. If you keep saying like, oh, it's gonna be a good month, it's gonna be a good month, you will keep finding things to confirm that. I think as humans, like we like to be right rather than happy. And so if we keep telling ourselves like, oh, I'm not feeling good, I'm not feeling good, like you keep finding evidence to prove that. So I found it really interesting, like this constant positive affirmation of like, oh my God, good things are happening. I'm so excited for this month was really cool. And it brought back like this excitement that I have. I'm still yet to meet some of my favorite people, do some of my favorite things, experience some of my favorite experiences. And that was so fun. So I think sometimes you have to be a little bit delusional and just be like, okay, good things are coming. Because I promise you, good things are coming. Like you're still yet to meet some of your best friends and go to some of your favorite places and try some of your favorite things and learn some of your most important lessons. I think it's very important to be optimistic about your life and your future. September was time that was also really interesting because I did this really intensive course at the University of Cambridge on a topic that I didn't really know much about. I did it all about shipping, and I truly felt like the dumbest person in the room for a long time. But I thought that was really cool, and I think sometimes pushing yourself to be the dumbest person in a room is fun because you get to learn so much. And I don't just mean in terms of like the knowledge of this course that I did, which I learned so much about. And I think that's like a cool thing for me to know now. But I learned so much about other people because on this course there were so many people from different countries from all over the world, and I learned so much about like culture and like their ways of thinking. And there was these lovely girls from Saudi, and if they're listening, like shout out to you, so much love to you. But we would sit and we'd have these conversations about growing up and our different experiences and like women's rights and our opinions on different topics like friendship and dating and marriage and all these things. And it was so interesting. I think it taught me like I want to actively challenge myself to push myself out of my comfort zone again. And like, I don't just mean in terms of trying new things, but in my bubble, because I think sometimes we get really comfy as people, like surrounded by people who think like us, talk like us, do the same things as us, have the same interests. And so trying like a new thing and meeting a new kind of person and being exposed to different worldviews, I learned so much and I had so much fun. And I think also this value of learning to just enjoy learning for the sake of learning. That was learning too many times in one sentence, but I hope you get what I mean. Rather than if you're in school or university or doing education, viewing it as like a means to an end of getting to a career, just enjoying learning for the sake of it and just trying something new is so fun. So again, comment down below what's something that you want to learn more about. Something random, a random side quest. And I'm interested on everyone's topics and we can maybe learn together because I'm a bit of a nerd. Anyways, October was also a really cool month. I traveled a lot, like after I think a more relaxed summer, a more inward looking summer. October was interesting because I went traveling quite a bit and it was a very like high energy month after quite a long time of just like chilling. It was also when I went back to university and moved back to London like properly and got into like a much faster pace of life, which was so fun, but it was also really overwhelming. And one thing I started to do, which I have mentioned in previous episodes because it's really been game changing for me, is an energy audit because I started to get quite easily overwhelmed by everything that was happening in life. I had like a lot on my plate all of a sudden. And so I started doing this energy audit where every time, every weekend, I would sit and I'd get a notebook out and I'd write down like all the activities I did, all the people I hung out with, all my habits, all the stuff. And I'd be like, okay, did this bring me energy? Did it make me feel good? Did it take energy? Did it make me feel anxious? Or was it just neutral? And doing that over and over, like I've started to identify things that overall bring me energy and I spend more time with those people. Things that make me anxious, I try and like work through that relationship with either those people or that activity or that habit or whatever. And things that are neutral, like they stay neutral. I try and now spend time with more people, doing more things that give me energy. And I'm more mindful that I have more energy to give on some weeks than others. So it's a cool thing. Like I recommend doing it. You don't have to do it every week like I do. But I started by doing it on like every time I take the train to go back to my hometown. I'd sit there and I had like a notebook and because like the data is not very good on the train. I wouldn't have much to do and so I'd sit there and I started journaling and then I started doing this energy audit and I was like, oh, this is actually pretty cool. So I started doing it and I thought it was really nice and it also gives you appreciation for actually sitting down and being like, what do I care about? What gives me energy? What do I value? And speaking about that, that links to November's lesson. So I'm in my final year of university and I'm back in London. And as fun as it is, everyone's trying to get jobs, everyone's doing interviews, everyone's getting internships, everyone is writing their dissertations around me and doing all these things. And I think it can get quite noisy. And you can get swept up into what everyone else is doing, what everyone else wants. And so I think in times like that, it's so important to like kind of be in your headphone, do not disturb era and cut out all that noise and be like, I'm exactly on track with where I need to be. And if you feel lost, like I said I did earlier this year, that's okay. That's exactly where you need to be. You need to feel lost so you can like find out where you want to go. And where you want to go is going to be different to everyone else around you, probably. And so just like make time for yourself, make time for silence, make time to spend alone, to figure out what you want. Like, I now know what I want to do, and I'm really excited. And I've started taking steps around that to like work on that and to make that a reality. But it's not the conventional route that some of my peers are taking. I'm not trying to get a job in the corporate London scene. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think that's awesome, power to them, but like that's not what would make me happy. And even though that's something that's a little bit more prestigious than maybe what I'm trying to do, learning to accept that and just learning to cut out the noise and with work as well, knowing like some people have done this much work, some people have done this much work, like cutting out that noise, you are exactly where you're on your timeline and learning that you can't change to anyone else's timeline and you shouldn't. Like you enjoy your timeline. I might be behind compared to some other people I know, but it doesn't matter. Like I'm happy with where I am. And I keep checking in with myself and figuring out like, is this where I want to be? And if not, like how can I get to where I want to be? But I think like putting your headphones on, like metaphorically, physically, literally is so important. And just like the energy audit really helps because you can be surrounded by people in your life that are doing very different things, but if they give you energy and they don't make you feel judged or compared or all these things, it's so much easier to do your own thing. Like I think I've definitely got 100 times better at not caring what people think, and I wouldn't give the credit exactly to myself. I do think I've done some work on getting to that place, but at the same time, I think it's credit to the people I surround myself with because they make me feel so good and safe that like I don't have to sit there and judge myself because I don't feel judged by the people that matter to me. And I think that's really, really important and beautiful. So please put on those headphones and just mind your own business in the most loving way possible. And my final lesson for December, we're just in starting December, or not quite, but we're in December now. And my final lesson for this 2024 wrapped is stop waiting for to celebrate. Like you don't need a reason to celebrate. You will never be 100% healed or 100% perfect or 100% where you want to be in your life. But realizing that you're already a good version of yourself is so important. Earlier on this year, I was feeling, like I said, a bit insecure about where I was and how I could be better. I could be stronger, I could be fitter, I could be prettier, I could be smarter, I could do all these more things. Like, I have so much more to give and I could do so much more. And I started this thing with a friend where I just started sending her a picture every day of something that I was doing, and I'd be like, dream woman energy is. And I'd send her a picture of something from my life, like going to the gym or hanging out with a new friend or doing something interesting. And through that, I have been doing that since May, basically every single day with this friend of mine, and she started doing the same. And through our conversations, we've created this space where we realized that, like, yeah, okay, maybe there's so much more time and effort and experience that will go into becoming a future better version of ourselves. But you don't have to wait until that point to feel celebrated, to feel worthy, to feel loved. Like you realize that you take the steps every single day to be that version of yourself, and you are already the dream best version of yourself if you do that. And if you're just like, not even, I'm not saying that you have to be on this hustle and grind of self-help and productivity, but if you take time to identify things that you do that you love about yourself or that you do that you know that you're building a version of yourself that you care about or like that you feel good about and a life that you care about and you feel good about, then you're already your dream version. And you don't have to sit on the sidelines. Like I think I procrastinated doing a lot of things for a while because I was like, okay, I'm gonna engage in those activities or do those things or hang out with those people once I'm where I need to be. And then I realized like there's always going to be more room for growth. There's always going to be more things that I can do. But in the meantime, like I'm going to learn to enjoy who I am, where I am, and I'm just not going to wait. I'm going to go talk to that person. I'm going to go try that new experience. And that's been so fun. And learning to identify that you are already this version of yourself that you're putting on a pedestal that you want to be. is so interesting. It takes a while for your brain to adjust, and I'm not sure I'm quite there yet, but I'm trying. And this is your reminder that you already are everything that you want to be. Like, you just have to learn to make space and look for it. And like once you start identifying it, it actually becomes easier. You have more motivation to show up for yourself every day. Like I have a much better relationship with exercise, going to the gym now that I do it because I know that I'm like working on being the best version of myself rather than this place of like insecurity, fear, shame. Or same with doing my work and studying or doing all the stuff that I care about and um all these fun social things as well, or even meditation, visualization. Like, I don't do those things anymore out of like scarcity and fear and lack, but out of this place of like, oh my God, I already get to do all these things that this dream version of myself would do. And I think that's just so fun. So that's my big lesson of December. And I think probably one of my biggest lessons of this year. And that in general is my 2024 wrapped. I really hope that you learned and that you enjoyed and that you laughed and that something related to you. Let me know which lesson resonated the most with you and what your lessons are. I'm so curious. Like, I want to learn from you as well. Like, what have you been through? What have been your genres and your moods? So please reach out, contact me, let me know your thoughts, and stay tuned for next week. We're going to be back with another interview. Lots of love.